إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. All praise is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Him, we seek His help and guidance, and we ask Him to forgive us for our shortcomings. We ask Him to forgive us, and we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the shortcomings of our souls, but also the shortcomings of our deeds. Whoever Allah guides, none can be misguided, but whoever is misguided can never return. I bear witness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only deity, and that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the final and last messenger. Allahumma ameen. There is a hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, and it is reported in Sahih Muslim that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the angel Jibreel actually came in the form of a man, and when this man came, he asked him several questions. But the importance of this was that when Jibreel alayhi salam was asking this question or these questions, it was for not only as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to teach it and understand it himself, but it was also to make sure that the Sahaba knows why these questions are being asked and why these questions are being answered. So what questions were being asked? In this hadith, it mentions that when Jibreel alayhi salam asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is Islam? He would reply, what is Islam? What is it about? And all that. And then he would move forward, specifically, what is Iman? And the Prophet ﷺ would explain what is Iman. And then when he got to the third point, Jibreel alayhi asked him, what is ihsan? And our beloved Prophet ﷺ, he replied, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed Allah is with those who have taqwa and those who practice ihsan. Indeed Allah is with those who have taqwa and those who practice ihsan. This hadith is significant, and the reason it mentions it's so significant is because of the fact that ihsan plays an important role for all of us. And I'm talking specifically about implementing ihsan. We all know that ihsan means excellence in Arabic. We all know that ihsan means excellence in Arabic. But the problem is not that we know what it is, more so how we implement it. Not just implementing within our worship, our personal lives, but more importantly, making it a catalyst for change. That's the goal of ihsan. Every single task that each of us does every single day will affect some type of change, whether small, whether large. But more importantly, it helps us build our ummah, not just on a local scale, but more of a global scale. And more respect will come towards us because ihsan means excellence, meaning that if I dedicate myself to make sure a task is done on time with perfection and making sure that it's done properly, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be pleased with us, right? And more importantly, people will actually be satisfied that, you know what, he took his time out and he made sure that the task that I may have given him or the task that he was assigned, he did it properly. And he didn't just do it lackadaisical. And he wasn't lazy, he wasn't, basically doing haphazardly. So with this to say, is that first we must understand what is the purpose of having ihsan, and then on top of that, how does it affect our worship, and why is it important to implement in our worship in order to affect change. So even in the Quran, there are many ayahs in Surah Al-Imran, in Surah Nahl, in Surah Baqarah. They mention many times that Allah loves those who are the people called muhsin or muhsinin. Allah loves those who practice ihsan. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Nahl, the end of Surah Nahl, He says, Inna Allaha ma'al ladina taqaw wal ladina hum muhsinin. That indeed Allah is with those who have taqwa and those who practice ihsan. Indeed, Allah is with those who have taqwa and with those who practice ihsan. So, what does it mean to practice ihsan though? And this is where the definition of ihsan comes. Ihsan, there are 2 points with this definition. That yes, it means excellence, but excellence is what? It can mean in your worship, your ibadah, but it can also mean that throughout my daily actions, I must implement ihsan. For example, and let's stick with the worship portion for now, and then we can move into what does it mean for our daily actions. But with ibadah, with worship, ihsan means that no matter what worship I'm given, no matter what type of worship I'm doing, I have to do it with full concentration. More importantly, I have to do it with tameez, with making sure that it is proper, and that Allah is pleased with me at the end of the day. For example, when I do salah, am I making sure that I'm doing wudu? Because some of us, we tend to not make wudu sometimes because we're in a rush. Or sometimes what happens in fasting, we might do something that is prohibited while we are fasting. We're not focused on it. More importantly, we just think, oh, it's a light thing, don't worry, Allah will forgive us. No, you have to implement that. You have to make sure that even if it happens by mistake, you feel guilty about it and you will make sure it will never happen again.
That's what ihsan means, to have excellence. We are all human beings. We will all make mistakes. But the point is that we are trying to achieve achieve a perfect lifestyle. That's the goal. We will never get there. We will never be like the Prophet ﷺ, who is the most perfect human being. But what we can do is try our best every single day through every single action to be as perfect as possible. To be as perfect as possible. We're not trying to make mistakes purposely. That's the goal. And going back to the part of ibadah. Even when we go for Umrah and Hajj, when we're going for Umrah and Hajj, we understand that we are in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the house, the most holiest place on the planet. And when we go there, we're not there, it's not a normal vacation for us. This is the time that we make everything meticulous. Every action that we take is meticulous, calculated, and knowing that we have to do this with excellence. This is the portion of worship. And this is also an important key, is that if you do not have this type of worship in you, how do you think it's going to affect, how do you think you're going to affect change outside? You have to work on yourself first, right? That's the goal. You cannot climb all the way to the 12th stair without climbing the first stair. Meaning you have to start with yourself. You have to implement ihsan within yourself and then teach it to others and implement change outside. And then it brings into my second point, implementing it within our personal lives and then also within the community, whether it's local or global. And this will come into your daily actions. Ihsan is a beautiful thing, especially if we implement it properly. For example, if we're working, if we have a certain task that our boss gave us, I know all of us are trying to get bread, we're trying to get money, that's the goal. But with that money, okay, I want you to think beyond that. I want you to think that, you know what, with this money, I got to start making some type of change. But in order for you to make that change, you have to start with yourself by doing the task that's given in front of you. So if your task tells you, or if your boss tells you, the task today is to write 10 emails and make sure they're properly, the grammar's correct and everything is correct, then do it with ihsan. He gave you a task, do it so that you can earn that paycheck. When you get that paycheck, you'll start making a change, okay? That's the goal. Every single action, it does not matter whether it is the most smallest, minute action. Ihsan plays a part in every single bit of our deen. More importantly, is that even if you're not doing salah, and it's coming back to that worship portion, every action that you take is also a worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ihsan is implemented in that. Even if you're not even doing salah, you're not fasting, but yet your intention is that I'm going to complete these 10 emails so that not only I can get money, so that I can be able to help others outside for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but provide for my family too. And I'm going to do this with ihsan, excellence. That's the bar you should be achieving. But sometimes within our ummah, and realistically, this is the problem that we lack sometimes, is that whenever we see a small task, we think it's minute, it's okay, we'll get rid of it. It's don't worry, it's a small task. We don't need to really care about it as much. But that's not the case. Every action matters, because gradually, what's going to happen is these habits will make you the person who you are. And if you don't take certain actions or even small actions serious, inevitably, it's going to affect bigger change on you. And meaning that it can define who you are as a person. It can affect you personally. For example, if I don't make my bed or I don't clean my room every day, and I just think, oh, it's okay, I'll do it later, eventually what's somebody going to think? I'm dirty, I'm lazy, I don't want to do it, right? This type of behavior is going to start, and people will actually think you're lazy. So that's the point, is that it will affect you personally. But now think about it on this level. that if I were to start implementing ihsan in my life, the daily actions that I take, now imagine that that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will first of all be pleased with you. That's the most important thing. But what's also going to be affecting is that your whole life will change. Your whole perspective of life will change. Meaning that you'll start giving more effort. You'll start working more harder. And more importantly, you're going to start affecting change outside of just yourself and your family. You might want to start an organization, and with these type of skills that you learn and the organizational skills that you build, or whatever it is, the type of the person you are, and especially because you want to achieve a high level, it's going to affect, and it's actually going to play a part in that. And you can make a big significant change through that. But small actions and making sure that you do it with proper niyat and intention, and then on top of that, making sure it's perfect, that's the goal. And then what's going to happen now, when we start affecting it within ourselves and also within the community, is that ihsan will become a catalyst for not just local change, but global change. Think about it. Right now, I think everybody has heard this many times, that our ummah is weak. Our ummah is weak. We see people in Gaza, Sudan, and everywhere else, that many people are being oppressed, and yet we're not able to do something about it. That's the common theme. That's the common question and theme that every single person in this room probably has thought about or has mentioned it to someone else. Or probably mentioned to like a sheikh or whatever. But more importantly, we can be that change. But the problem is that we don't like to actually start changing ourselves first. We don't like to start implementing ihsan. We don't like to start, saying, you know what? Even like, for example, cleaning a masjid. You may be wondering, what does cleaning a masjid have to do with changing Gaza? Taking even the smallest of action can show that Muslims are clean, Muslims are sophisticated, Muslims are starting to now be a part of change. And eventually, when we start getting our habits together, we can start implementing success outside. And like I mentioned before, in order for you to affect change, you don't start from the 12th floor. You start from the first floor, meaning yourself. Keeping yourself clean, keeping yourself, sophisticated, well presentable, keeping your manners correct, being more organized. All this comes with ihsan. And when you do it with ihsan, those changes will come eventually. And you have to be patient with it as well. That's also important. But the point being is that daily tasks and daily chores, you can affect change even to the smallest of action with excellence and make a bigger change down the line. Make a bigger change down the line. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. To bring all these points together, more importantly is that ihsan is a gradual, life-changing experience. And more importantly to say is that without ihsan, we as an ummah together cannot improve our own standard of living. More importantly, the complaints that we have every single day, every single action, the complaints that we show, that we actually talk about, these things can be changed, first of all, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If He does not will it, it will not happen. That's a fact. But the point that I'm also trying to make is that it does not matter whether Allah accepts it or not. What matters is that we are trying, and that ultimately Allah will determine what happens after. We have to be the source of effort and hard work. That's the goal. That's what ihsan is all about. That's why in the Quran it mentions several times ihsan, become those of muhsineen. We want to be of those who are practicing ihsan. But it's a concept, a fundamental concept that all of us, including myself, lack. Because most of the time, whenever we're a part, even sometimes when we're a part of organizations or whatever, we think that, oh, small tasks like these, they won't matter. But actually it does, because you don't realize it. These small actions can affect if somebody wants to come back to your event or your organization or whatever, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is that with all these points about worship, ihsan with worship, ihsan within our personal and also community, affecting our community, it can help change our ummah globally. It can be a catalyst if we start implementing it. More importantly, we start changing our mindset that, you know what, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to make sure that when I get up for Fajr, I'm going to be actually 15 minutes, I'm going to be on the rug before the adhan happens. And I'm going to be there mentally in my state, I'm going to be ready. And then when I go to work, I'm going to work really hard so that not only my family is provided for, so that I can earn and be able to start affecting change outside in my community. And when I'm a part of my community, I'm going to make sure that if Allah wills, if I'm given like a leadership position or I'm able to start my own initiative, that I'm going to do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to make sure this initiative, whatever I'm given, it's successful, so that change can be affecting and it can be a gradual cycle. And that Allah will be pleased with me on the day of judgment, and that others who are suffering around the world or in general who cannot be able to do this type of stuff will also be affected in a more positive manner. That's the goal. But it all starts with the concept of ihsan. So to leave a mark here, I want to say one thing, that when you think about your Islam, your 5 pillars, and even your iman, make sure that everyone in this room, when they leave out these doors, you think also about your ihsan. How much effort and excellence am I giving to every single chore, every single action, and every single deed that I am doing, knowingly or unknowingly? I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us all and make us amongst those who can excel in their worship, their character, and their service to humanity. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to may He allow our efforts to bring justice and peace and mercy to the world. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow the people of Gaza, Sudan, and every single Muslim country that is being oppressed, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free them of their oppression. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who are the people of ihsan, and make our deeds sincere for His sake and His sake alone. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove the oppression from our brothers and sisters all over the world. It does not matter whether someone's going through depression or some type of calamity. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve them of that calamity. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who will be mujaddids and who will revive the deen, not just in our hearts, but those we will affect, inshallah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us spouses and relatives who will be the sukoon of our eyes. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those who will be forgiven by Him and His mercy, and that we will be in Jannah with our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the remaining companions and prophets before him. Allahumma ameen. Aqim as-salat.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Slow, make sure the lines are straight and no gaps are left, inshallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألحمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بطغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال لهم رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها ولا يخاف عقباها. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.